Evening, welcome to an hour of sporting chat. Well, it's mostly football chat, mostly owls and blades, but plenty else besides. Many congratulations to Sheffield Steelers ice hockey with another playoff triumph. A bit more of that later. Stocksbridge Park Steels, a special mention for them later in the programme for a special reason as well. But it's mostly Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United. And coming to select and close in on guests for this show, I chose two previous guests with the greatest gift of the gab. I'm going to take a night off. I won't have to say very much more. A knowing grin from Craig Armstrong and from James Shield. Craig Armstrong, delighted you could come back. FA scout, former Sheffield Wednesday player, former Huddersfield player, former Nottingham Forest player, and so many others. We could take you to the end of the programme of what we started.
Not long enough.
And James Shield, very loyal to just one club, the Sheffield Star, and Sheffield United in particular. Let's just kick off with you, James, because as journalists we have enjoyable seasons, less than enjoyable seasons, ruddy, awful seasons at times, especially if you're covering one club. What sort of a season have you had this year?
Well, do you know what? From a journalist point of view, this has been a brilliant season, hasn't it? Because Sheffield United, obviously the team that I work with, they've got the results, they've got the promotion. And from a selfish point of view, speaking from, I say, as a journalist, we've got a manager who's almost like a walking catalogue of sound bites. He knows how to play the press. He knows what we want. Everything that he says is quotable. And do you know what? I actually think that's a little bit more than PR. It's really struck a chord with with the supporters this year. But no, it's great to see him up. I think it's been thoroughly deserved as well. There's absolutely no luck to this promotion whatsoever.
No, I would observe the same, having seen only a fraction of what you've seen. But the joy for a journalist is, it's a joy anyway, just covering the game and getting in for nothing. But when you have a season like this, I mean, seasons can be quite difficult politically, can't they? When things are going wrong at a club, and you've seen that many times over many years at Sheffield United, you're having to tiptoe along a tightrope because you're aware of politics in that corner and something else in that. It strikes me that this season it's been totally devoid of that.
It's amazing, isn't it? When a club's winning, there's absolutely none of that. You've probably seen this behind the scenes as well.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, that's the nice thing for me about this year as well. And I don't think it's any surprise. I think they've got it right on the pitch. Clearly, they've got it right on the pitch. But they've also got it right off the pitch too. I think we've all known. And again, we're laughing about the number of clubs that you've had, but you can probably talk, from now until sort of 10:30 at night about some of the mistakes that Sheffield United have made while they've been in League One. But I think they took a long, hard look at what they were doing in the summer. They've got the right man in, and they've got the right people behind the scenes. They've always had some really well-meaning people behind the scenes, and they're a fortunate club in that regard. But everything just seems to have come together this year. And I think, again, talking as a journalist, the one sign of a successful season is that all we've had to really write about this year is football.
Yeah.
There's been no sort of politics behind the scenes. No. There's been no boardroom issues. There's been no off-the-pitch issues. It's just purely been the football. And that's been it's been a real joy. And I think that's a sign of a well-run, successful club.
Yeah, and we all learn from mistakes. They've made plenty over the years. They've learned from them, and credit where credit's due, even from a former Owl, eh, Craig?
Yeah, this Sheffield Wednesday credit goes out to the club itself, and obviously the team. They've been outstanding. I've been fortunate to watch them a couple of times this season, and by knuckle crook, they've got the result they've needed, even when they've not played particularly well. And I think that's credit to Chris, because not only does he support the club, lives in Sheffield, a lot of his mates are obviously Blades. He goes to every game, the kids' games as well. He watches the 23s, he watches the 18s when he can, and sometimes that doesn't happen enough anymore from managers. He knows what's underneath. So if players aren't playing well, and I'm sure he's given a few lads opportunities. I think the boy Dave Brooks has been in and around it. Regan Slater's had a couple of sniffs, and they've got some good talent at the moment.
I think it's this lovely mix, Chris, of sort of, yes, he's got the new ideas. Yes, he buys into some of the sort of the more scientific stuff that coaches do, but he's still got old school values. And there's a reason why certain values are called old school, and that's because they are old school and they've stood the test of time. So the chances are You know, those are probably more worthwhile values to have than some of the more fleeting scientific things that might be in vogue one season, but everybody's forgotten about the next. And I think he's a nice mix of the two.
It's funny, we were talking about old school values off air with Craig beforehand, and how they were difficult to implement nowadays because of, let's say, the PC factors that come into academies. Maybe raise that a bit later in the programme we may come to that, but Chris Wiles is determined to retain some of that in what he does. And basically what we're talking about is a good old-fashioned kick up the backside, aren't we, when it's called for.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he was just speaking after the game against Northampton last weekend, where obviously that was the afternoon when Sheffield United secured promotion. But I mean, John Fleck came out, you know, admitted that he'd had one at half time. Paul Coots came out and admitted that he'd had one at half time. So, you know, I think it's just a team of good characters, and I think the important thing is as well is that he's surrounded himself with players who can actually take that as well. Yeah. Because I think there is. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but people change as well. You know, society changes, doesn't it? And there's probably a generation perhaps now that might be a little bit sort of more flaky,
much more
for want of a better word.
We spoke about that.
But when you do get that kick up the backside. But, you know, it's a great technical team, but it's a good old-fashioned team in sort of the sense of their character as well.
Pressing the right buttons at the right time. He seems to do that. I mean, one regular Sheffield United player, quite a high-profile one, said to me recently that the rollickings sometimes came when they were least expected. That players would come off the field thinking, hey, we've played well, and suddenly they're walking into this tirade. And then they realise afterwards why it's been done. Sheffield Wednesday, we are going to talk more Blades later. You're going to be at Walsall tomorrow, yeah?
Port Vale.
Port Vale, sorry. It's a good job I'm not doing the game there. They're not too far apart.
You're not doing my sat-nav, are you, Alan?
I could have gone to Walsall and realised and gone on to Port Vale. Just about, Port Vale. And where are you going to be this week? And we're going to talk about...
I'm going to watch Forest tomorrow against Blackburn. I watched them last Saturday against Huddersfield. They were outstanding. And I've seen Forest this season when they've been good and when they've been terrible. And I think the change of managers and the debacle, what's going on, I've seen you down there a few times on the radio, and it's been shambolic at times with different teams. I think it was laughable at one stage. There were 6-7 players every game was changed from a Saturday to a Tuesday. I mean, I remember the boy Matty Cash had played on the Saturday against Wigan. I think Ollie Berg had scored 2 goals, and Matty was the best player on the pitch. And they played Millwall in the Cup on the Tuesday, and Matty was on the bench, and Lansbury played. So I'm thinking, he must be going back in Saturday, and he didn't go back in. And you know what? As a young lad, and remember when I played, you play well, you expect to keep your place, and it never happened. And Montagnier, I think, right or wrong, had his reasons for it. It didn't work. It cost him his job. And then you think stability again with Gary Brazil coming in, and Jack Lester, who I suppose have done an amazing job with the academy. The stability was put in front of them, and within 3-4 games it was took away again. And I think that then the turmoil starts again. Warburton comes in and he sort of calmed it down a little bit. And I think Jack and Gary, and obviously the Blade fans will know Jack Lester very well.
And Gary Brazil. From way back. Jack,
he put his money and his mouth on the boy Ben Brereton. And to be fair to Jack and Gary, they gave him an opportunity, scored the winner against Villa with a volley, and he's not been out the side. And on Saturday, himself and Jamie Ward up front were outstanding. Didn't give Huddersfield back for a chance to settle, to get the passing game going. And Forest should have been 4-5-0 up at half time. So I'd like to hope from Saturday they can continue that tomorrow against Blackburn. They beat Blackburn tomorrow, it takes them 8 points clear of relegation, and we can hopefully fight another day for next season to potentially challenge and see what Fawaz does with the club next year.
Well, that's the imponderable, isn't it? What he does with the club rather than what the manager does with the players. That's the thing that's destructive. Leeds seem to have got that right finally in that respect, with their owner sort of kept his distance. Well, he's had to, in a way, officially anyway.
He's been given a helping hand with that.
Yeah, I think that's helped Leeds. It really has. Sheffield Wednesday. That's where I'm going tomorrow. Home to Cardiff City. I'd be thinking normally at home home to a mid-table team and you're pushing for the playoffs, you're a top six, a team opposition with not very much apparently to play for, you'd be very confident of the win. But that reckons without the opposition manager, doesn't it, Craig?
Yeah, it does. If you know, if I was a betting man and I'd looked at that tomorrow, you'd be thinking Sheffield Wednesday all day long. But you know, Neil Warnock, what he does at football clubs is phenomenal, because as a man manager, and I know players who've played for him, and they just tell me, you know, sometimes he wasn't great on the training ground, but he knew how to get the best out of the team, and it showed it when he got the Blades promoted the Premiership. How well a lot of the boys who'd gone from Championship to play in the Premiership adapted. He's just a real good man manager, and you know, his record tells for himself. What he did at Rotherham last year was outstanding. You know, it wouldn't have surprised me if he'd gone back into Rotherham when they're in the dismay they were, that he wouldn't have got them out of the trouble. But tomorrow it's going to be a bit of a needle, because the Wednesday fans are going to barrack of abuse, and I think Neil Warnock will go in there very quietly, and the first thing he'll say, first thing he'll say to his boys is, "We need to beat these, because these are."
He's told me that. That's exactly what he's told me.
Yeah.
None of my team are better think this is a meaningless game for us, because I'll be right on their case if they do, because of what it means to me.
I was going to say, and I'll tell you what, I think the key thing for them with that is that he's going to be there next season as well. And Neil's got quite a long memory.
Yes.
So I think anybody who lets him down in that one tomorrow, not just, you know, who knows what the result will be, but anyone who lets him down in terms of commitment or performance, I've got a feeling they might be looking for a new club in the summer.
Yeah, it matters.
Don't get me wrong, I think Sheffield Wednesday are outstanding side.
Yeah.
Watched them against Norwich this season.
Picked a good day.
Yeah, I did pick a good day, very good. Norwich were very below par, but I think that was also from a very good Sheffield Wednesday side. And you know, Forestieri got, I think, got one of their boys sent off. No, that was the Preston game. I saw them against Preston as well. You know, listen, they've got quality all through the side, and they've got goals, and they've got clean sheets. So it's hopefully they can, you know, Wednesday can get back to where, you know, when I grew up, knew where they always were, in the top flight.
Well, you played for them in, you know, lesser days. League One, you were part of the squad that came up in 2005.
No, I wasn't. I'd just gone.
Just gone. Just before.
I just left that.
Before it was achieved.
No, listen. I had a tough time at Sheffield Wednesday. I came in at probably the wrong time. A lot of big hitters were still there. Chelsea Bond, Simon Donnelly, Phil O'Donnell. You know, who, it wasn't their fault, but there was a lot of turmoil at the time. Chris Turner took over. Chris obviously had his remit from the chairman at the time, what he wanted and what he didn't want, and it was tough, and it was hard, and it was difficult. But Paul Sturrock came in, and to be fair to Paul, for someone who I didn't play for, but I was involved with him, trained with him every day, I thought he was a top manager, and what he did on the training pitch, everyone knew their responsibilities, everyone knew their role, everyone knew if you played well and you won a game of football, you kept your shirt. If you won a game of football and you were crap, you kept your shirt. He said, if you drew a game of football and you didn't play well, your place was in jeopardy.
Right.
So everyone knew that if they came into the side and they won a game of football and they played well, they'd keep their shirt. And I think that's important. And that's where Forest went wrong this season. And I think that's what, just going on to Warburton, what he has done is he's put the experienced players back in, and he said, you're going to play now to the end of the season. And that's what's happened.
But there's that common thread there, isn't there? Because we've obviously all got managers who we sort of admire, we respect. You've obviously been in a position where you've played for them, and we haven't. We've reported on them.
Yeah.
But all of those traits that you've said there, it just goes to back, I think, what I was talking about these sort of new school values. Football management, really, is quite simple. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's simple. The best managers are the ones who make it as simple as possible for everybody concerned. They haven't confused it like they did, you know, the guy at Forest did. They've just kept it nice and easy, nice and simple. Everybody knows what they're doing, most of all the manager themselves.
You know, you're right. I mean, at Sheffield Wednesday, when Chris came in, he obviously had his he was told what had to happen, and I knew I wasn't playing, and I ended up training with the kids, and it was a tough time. But I was one of these people that I trained as hard as I did when I trained with the youth team, when I trained with the kids, if I trained on my own, because you never know who's watching, and you never know when the next thing, and it's all about man management. And I think the best man managers are the people that win trophies, the people who manage the best players. Those who need a rollicking, they get one. Those who need an arm around the shoulder, they get one. And those who need the arm around the shoulder will still get a rollicking and then picked up straight after it. And that's what they're about. And that's what I lived off and I breathed off, because it made you feel 10 foot tall. And when you were rubbish, you knew, but he picked you back up the next day.
I have to say, Carlos Carvalho's brought something different in, coming from abroad, and he's not averse to rotating the squad if need be, even if players have played well. That's a sort of a more continental approach. I think he's done less of it this season, but every player, I don't think you'd find a player to say a bad word for him in terms of man management at Sheffield Wednesday. I think he's got that spot on. I mean, that whoever he puts out there's a good team ethic in that side.
Yeah,
do you see that?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes again, the manager, if the manager's got you involved in a squad, there's going to be players out of favour, and there's going to be players who don't play, who don't like the manager, who want to leave the club. And, you know, but in today's society, in footballing now, the amount of money that's on offer, people could be sitting on a bench picking up £1 million a year, you know, and if they're not, for me, if it was me, I want to play, you know, and if I'm not playing in someone's side, as long as I knew why, I could maybe swallow it a little bit, but if not, I'd want to play. Yeah. But what he's got is he's instilled a lot of discipline. He's got the boys playing well, and they're playing, and he might rotate one or two, but he generally picks more or less the same 11 if he can, and doesn't change much.
But even on the continent, you know, to be fair, I know there's obviously slightly different ways of doing things as you go from country to country, tactically, culturally, whatever. But even the best managers abroad have always kept it simple. I mean, you go back, the guy who absolutely redefined what we think football is today, Johan Cruyff, and to paraphrase him, you know, the most beautiful thing in the world is simple football, but it's actually the hardest to play as well. Yeah. So, you know, Johan Cruyff, yeah, okay. He might have, you know, what he did on the pitch might have looked amazingly complicated, but that was down to ability and talent, you know. Yeah. But basically what they were doing, it was simple. They all knew their job. Everybody knew what was expected of them. There were no blurred lines. Everything was quite clear. So in that sense, it was quite simple.
Yeah. I thought there was a great quote from Howard Wilkinson recently of Common Sense. He said that he saw too many managers out there now talking about their style of playing rather than just winning football.
I was just about to say that.
No matter who you've got, you have to look at your squad. I know a manager who took over a League One club quite recently and carried on playing in the way he did at his previous club, where he had some great players for the level, passing it, knocking it around the back, and hadn't got the players to do it.
But that's not a good manager, because a good manager surely comes in, they've got to be pragmatists as well. They've got to look at the tools they're working with. You don't turn up to, you know, to rewire this studio with a set of plumber's tools, do you? It's not going to happen.
I might.
It's not. I mean, by the way, it's not going to happen even if I turn up with a Sparky's tools. By the way,
they're a bit alarmed behind the glass there. Just behind that camera, they're a bit alarmed.
But you know, I think the other thing that seems to be happening in this day and age, I sound like a real boring old what's it now, don't I? It's probably my age. I don't know, but you know,
your age.
But I think, you know, there's so much science in football now, and I really do think it's got a place. It can bring more out of players, it can bring more out of teams, it can bring more out of the analysis and sort of the planning for games as well. But I don't know what you think. I just get this sense in the last couple of years, because, you know, your physios, your dietitians, your analysts, your God knows what else, because everybody's looking for a role in football. It's almost got to the point where they're actually running the football clubs rather than the manager themselves. And I just think that balance at some clubs is beginning to tip a little bit too far. So rather than use the knowledge and the expertise that the scientists and the ologists, for want of a better word, can bring, and use that information in a football sense, I actually think they're beginning to dictate to the football team.
Do you think so, Craig?
Yeah, I do.
We've only got 50 seconds.
I've got a Premiership club at the moment, a couple of coaches there that I know, they actually said that they think the sports science actually run everything in their department in the academy, and it frustrates them because it's not football.
What a great point. And I think we're all too governed by stats as well. So-and-so had 65% possession, so many passes. Okay, more passes than anybody else. They might have gone square and back. You know, it's what your eyes tell you that's more important, isn't it?
Definitely.
What do you think?
I do, yeah. It's
well, we're all three old what's-its then, aren't we? All three of us.
I think it's all about what you see.
All right, my stat is that that's the end of part 1 and you've got 5 minutes to wait for part 2, if you can wait. A cup of tea, somebody stronger, and these guys will still be with me in 5. See you then.